Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something totally wild. We are going to unpack a genuinely audacious vision for our immediate future, specifically the massive roadmap recently laid out by Anthropic's CEO Dario Amodei. And of course, we're also going to look at the intense, and I mean intense, pushback it sparked from critics. If you've been sitting there wondering what the actual endgame of this whole AI boom looks like, well, you're in the right place. Let's get right into it.
You know, it's kind of funny, but to understand the future of AI, we actually need to look back at 1967. Let's start with this slightly ironic counterculture poem by Richard Brautigan called All Watched Over by Machines of Love and Grace. Amodei actually uses this as the title and really the philosophical bedrock for his entire 15,000-word essay. The poem pictures this technological utopia where humans are completely freed from labor, reconnected with nature, and benevolently watched over by machines. It's this super fascinating mashup of hippie values and high-tech optimism, and it perfectly sets the stage for the absolute moonshot claims Amodei is about to make.
Okay, so what exactly are we talking about here? To really grasp Amodei's thesis, we have to define what he calls powerful AI. And let's be clear, we are not talking about a helpful little chatbot that writes your emails. He's talking about an entity that is literally smarter than Nobel Prize winners across every single relevant field: biology, programming, math, you name it. It can act autonomously for weeks at a time, and it operates at a staggering 10 to 100 times human speed. As Amodei puts it, just imagine a country of geniuses in a data center.
And that brings us to the central, earth-shattering premise of this entire vision. Amodei is essentially asking, are we about to cram an entire century of human innovation into just the next 5 to 10 years? Just pause and really think about that for a second. The mind-blowing scientific breakthroughs you assumed you'd never see in your lifetime or even your kids' lifetimes could literally become reality in the next decade.
So here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. We're going to cover the compressed 21st century, revolutionizing body and mind, global wealth and democratic power, the future of human meaning, and finally, critiques, blind spots, and risks.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the compressed 21st century.
So, Amodei's argument is that once we hit that powerful AI threshold, which by the way he thinks could happen as early as 2026, the brakes just completely come off. With a 10x acceleration factor, one single year of AI-driven progress suddenly equals 10 years of human progress. Basically, all the advancements we'd normally expect to happen slowly over the entire 21st century get intensely compressed into just the next 5 to 10 years.
To keep all this rapid change organized, Amodei breaks his vision down into 5 specific pillars: biology, neuroscience, the economy, peace and governance, and work and meaning. We're going to use these exact pillars to structure the rest of our explainer.
Moving right along to Section 2, revolutionizing body and mind.
Now remember, before Amodei was an AI, he was actually a biophysicist, so his predictions here are deeply rooted in hard science. And he's going big. We aren't just talking about making healthcare a little more efficient. We are talking about fundamentally altering human biology. He's talking about curing most cancers, reliably preventing Alzheimer's, and, get this, actually doubling the human lifespan to 150 years. He calls this achieving true biological freedom.
But it's not just the physical body. Let's look at the brain. Amodei predicts AI-accelerated neuroscience will act as a structural cure for severe mental illnesses. We're talking PTSD, depression, schizophrenia, just cured. But then he goes a step further, and this is wild. He suggests AI could actually fix everyday behavioral problems, like, being quick to anger or having trouble focusing. The ultimate goal here is to vastly expand human cognitive and emotional freedom, totally elevating our baseline experience of life.
But hold on a second. Critics like Dr. Andrew Maynard, who studies tech transitions, hit the nail on the head here. Using AI to fix human norms, that is a massive, highly controversial gray area. Who actually gets to decide what normal is, right? And who decides what parts of us need to be fixed? When you start talking about using AI to alter everyday behaviors and shift what it fundamentally means to be human, we are crossing a massive ethical line.
Okay, Section 3, global wealth and democratic power.
So if AI solves our diseases, how does it reshape the global economy? Just look at the massive disparity we have today. The US GDP per capita is sitting around $75,000, while sub-Saharan Africa is at roughly $2,000. Amodei's dream scenario is to use AI-driven economic planning to blast developing nations into a 20% annual growth rate. The idea is to lift billions out of poverty and make sure these AI healthcare miracles are shared globally, rather than just being hoarded by wealthy nations. On the global stage, Amodei actually doesn't think AI inherently favors democracy. In fact, he worries it could be an absolute goldmine for autocrats to use for better propaganda and surveillance. So to counter that, he proposes what he calls the entente strategy. It's classic carrot and stick. A coalition of democratic nations would use AI to lock in a decisive military advantage. That's the stick. But at the same time, they'd offer the immense economic and health benefits of AI to any country willing to play ball and support democratic values. And there's the carrot.
Which brings us to Section 4, the future of human meaning.
Right, so if AI is doing literally all the work, curing our diseases and securing global power, what are we actually supposed to do all day? Amodei takes a really wide historical view here. Human civilization has survived massive, tectonic economic shifts before. We went from hunter-gathering to farming to feudalism to the industrial age. And he firmly believes we're going to successfully navigate this next transition into a post-labor AI economy, even if we can't quite picture exactly how that system works right now.
His core argument is that human meaning has never just been about economic output. In a world where AI handles all the heavy lifting, meaning simply decouples from economics. We'll be totally free to focus on human connection, making art, self-discovery, and contributing to society in ways that aren't tied to a paycheck. Honestly, the fact that an AI could technically paint a picture or do a task better won't erase the joy and meaning we get from doing it ourselves.
Finally, let's get into Section 5, critiques, blind spots, and risks.
To really get the full picture of this blueprint, we have to look at the massive pushback it's received. Over at the Leverhelm Center for the Future of Intelligence, critics are pointing out a glaring blind spot. Amodei's vision heavily relies on a trickle-down approach, where the West invents the AI and then benevolently hands it out. They argue there's zero framework for the Global South to actually shape this technology themselves. Plus, that entente strategy we talked about? To a lot of critics, that sounds dangerously like an aggressive arms race wrapped up in a Western savior complex.
And then there's the physical toll on the planet. Environmental and legal analysts are super quick to point out that Amodei kind of just waves away the insane energy and water demands of these massive AI data centers. In his essay, he basically treats resource consumption as a minor distraction from the real existential threats of rogue AI. Critics argue that treating this commercial race to build data centers as some unstoppable force of nature, rather than a deliberate choice being made by tech executives, is just dangerously negligent.
So wrapping up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. Dario Amodei has drawn up this incredibly vivid, wildly optimistic roadmap where AI cures our diseases, ends poverty, and saves democracy. But is this really a beautiful, achievable blueprint for utopia? Or, as the critics are warning, are we just about to hit the fast-forward button on our own unresolved human flaws, blind spots, and imperial ambitions at 10 times the speed? That is the defining question of our immediate future. Thanks so much for watching, and keep questioning the road ahead.